Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are at. Hope you're having a fantastic day. It's SoulSaint here. I'm looking a little scruffy at the beginning. We're due for a haircut and whatnot, but I was looking at today's experiences or today's events and tourneys that were available, and I thought, well, we do have a 2X Sylvan Watcher event going on that also has a tournament tied to it, and I was like, you know, this is a great opportunity for me to showcase something I've been working aggressively towards, which is our Spider 10 team for hard mode. There's a little bit of a nuance to it. It's one of many different approaches that you can do to beat this boss, but I thought I would show you guys a run that took me roughly about 20 seconds on average to beat. It is a team that revolves around enemy max HP damage and hexing, and then of course any type of buffs or debuffs to amplify the team's output. So today, in our composition, we're going to have our 3 big damage dealers, which is Royal Guard, Cold Heart, and Seer. Followed up with our support champions, who also have a little bit of extra damage, too, that they're going to bring to the table, Mithril and Lydia. Now, these 2 champions are ones that I worked really, really hard to get, and I've been wanting to showcase them. If you haven't seen the video I did against the Scarab King, I wanted to kind of showcase one of the many different ways you can use Mithril, and today's video is no different. I wanted to make sure that we show you guys different ways that you can get as much value out of a champion that is acquirable to literally everyone. So, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the rotation in terms of like how we have our ability set up for the team, and then we'll get into the run, and then I'll show you guys the speeds and the gear and why they are the way they are. So our team comp is set up this way. We do have Royal Guard in the lead role because of the aura. We want to just get a little bit more damage off from him. He is going to open up with his takedown ability, which is enemy max HP ability, and then pretty much from there, that's pretty much all we're going to get out of him. Mithrala is going to open up with her A2, which is the main focus for this comp, is using Hex to your advantage. She is not going to use her A3, which has the strength and the shield, but we will get a little bit of bust here from the A2 in terms of increased defense and attack. Also, we will use Libation of Pain, which is her A1, for poisons in the event that the boss gets pretty close, but he has like a little bit of percent left that we need to kind of get over the finish line with, and those poisons should hopefully help. It is important to note that my Mithrala is not fully booked in her A1, so there is a margin of error in terms of like not being able to 100% book it. CVC is like right around the corner, so she's going to be one of the first ones I finish up for the future, but I wanted to get this out to you guys as soon as possible, so we're going to run it as is. Lydia, on the other hand, though, her A2 and her A3, for the most part, in terms of at least the increased chances in terms of booking, are 100% done. She is going to open up with Simon's Well, which is her A2. It has the decreased defense and the weaken, and the strengthen and increased speed. Now, these buffs are going to be important for various different reasons, but they work for literally everyone, and I'll show you why once we get to the builds, okay? In the event that the boss does have a little bit left over, we will have that A3 available, which is going to go in shortly afterwards. It's going to be on her next turn. Poison sensitivity is going to help Mithrala's poisons, give her that little extra oomph, and that should hopefully clear off the boss's last little remaining HP. So these two work together in that aspect of like being able to not only provide buffs and debuffs to help the team, you know, cook, for lack of better words, but also in the event that we do get to the, like, down to the wire, we got a little bit of extra coming from them just to make sure we get to the finish line. So Cold Heart is built in a unique way, but the main focus is just to make sure she has her Heart Seeker packing as much damage as possible. Of course, the 70% plus the 30% crit rate will give you that 100% crit damage, you know, crit rate you're looking for, and then we amp up as much crit damage as we can to do as much of a punch as we can. She is in an interesting set, which I'll show you during the run, but more about that later. Seer, on the other hand, we want her for that karma burn. We want to see all those buffs that we've been getting from the team, and everything being led up to that one point for when she pops her pop, she's doing a lot of damage. And depending on how the run goes, you'll see that Seer, practically when she has her one burn, it's burn and done. You know, she pretty much gets it all the way down. But I want to make you guys very aware that there's a margin of potential error where there's like a little sliver of HP left, and that's where we have the rest of the team do what they do. Let's get into the run. I want to show you guys how it works. We'll do I'll narrate as we go live. We'll slow it down a little bit for you guys so you see it, but pretty much how you're going to see it is Lydia starts at the top of the turn. Of course, when the boss spawns, when you first go into the match, you get your first initial 6, but then you get another 2 per round of champions having their turns. So right now we have 8 spirderlings on the board as well as the queen herself. We're going to see Lydia start off with her A2 to give the buffs as well as the decreased defense. Every single one of them took. And then, of course, Lydia's going to start, and this is where everybody's on the board now. The most important aspect that we want here from this is we do want the decreased defense and the weekend across the board here for all the available spiderlings that were there at the time, as well as the queen. But in particular, this right here is very, very important. The Hex What Hex enables you to do when we do our splash damage, our AoE damage, it allows a little bit of a bleed over into the other spiderling. So in the event that like a spiderling doesn't have, you know, decreased defense, for example, here, or both there, the amount of amplified damage that's being bled over towards everybody kind of compiles upon itself to kill all the spiderlings. So that's the idea behind it. There is a little bit of margin of error. At the end of the day, there's always going to be this variable of like 3% chance where no matter what, they resist. And it has happened in some of my runs, and that's something that I do want to give you guys to know for important consideration for this particular composition and how we use it against this team. But the main thing is that having a Hex up across all the spiderlings and the queen, as well as much decreased defense and weaken that we have, should ultimately give us a pretty satisfactory experience where all the spiderlings are dead. And that's what we want right here. That's the ideal situation where we get it roughly down towards that 50 percentile left HP. I did put my Mithrala in a revenge piece to maybe get some extra poison off, and that's going to play a benefit towards us down the line if we get down to the wire. But we probably may not need it, considering that we got him roughly around 50% before Coldheart got her turn. So no healing took place here, as well as we got all the spiderlings down. So that's ideal. That's what we want. She is going to follow up with her Heartseeker here, which is what our Coldheart's next in line for. I did place her, and this is an important note here, in Stone Skin, 1 set worth, so 4 pieces of Stone Skin, to give me the buff. And the reason why is that we do take that AoE punch, and even with strengthen and increased defense, we still take a little bit of a hit here. And that is something important that I want the audience, you guys that are watching, to know, is that if you don't have those buffs up, or you don't have potentially like Stone Skin, for example, there is a margin of error here where you could potentially see your champion getting killed. When I was first building this comp up, I did face that reality. I was like, man, I'm having trouble keeping my Coldheart up. What's one way that I could do it without compromising the stats I need? And ultimately, I had some pretty good pieces in Stone Skin, and I just like, all right, let's use that. And I found success with it, and that's one thing I want to know. Is that the only way you can do it? No, but I definitely wanted to give you guys one of many options to do it. Maybe putting Lydia or Mithrala, for that matter, in a shield set where you get an extra buff for Seer, or some kind of way to kind of give your team a little bit more survivability. That by all means, that's definitely welcome as an alternative. But I went with Stone Skin since it is one way to just make sure that my Coldheart is available and ready to do what she needed to do. So she's going to go ahead and do our Heartseeker here, which does a little bit more damage. I've been seeing roughly on average 1.47-ish, so about maybe 1.5 mil damage in terms of numbers if you're looking for it. Getting them roughly down to this part, everything's kind of lined up the way we want to. I think Seer pretty much one-shots here. If not, there's a small margin of error, and that's what I want to make sure you guys were prepared for. Now, the counterattack excluded here, so minus those extra little bit damage points that we put on, as well as the poisons here. Ignore that for a second. Lydia normally follows up with her A3 here. That's how I have the AI set up. You'll see her pack a punch, sometimes even killing herself, because we do get War Master procs or anything like that. But if she doesn't kill her there, she does at least get the poison sensitivity up. Followed up with Mithrala putting her A1 into play will give us that extra poisons to lock out the fight. Now, there are some things I want to make sure you guys are concerned about. Not having all the hexes up could lead to maybe one spiderling living, which ultimately gets eaten by the queen, giving her more HP. That is a little bit of a margin of error. If Mithrala and Lydia's second turn do not kill the boss, and your HP pool and your defense stats are decent enough, you'll have one more rotation's worth to potentially get a couple more poisons to maybe secure the kill, or a little bit more damage output from Lydia in terms of like her auto attack damage, or Mithrala's output to maybe secure the team. But if you do not have enough output at that point, or they die before then there is a chance of failure there. Mostly on average, I'm roughly around like 96 to 98 percentile in terms of like win rate. There was a lot of margin of error. My recent increases of gear, stats, and whatnot have given me a higher rating to a point where it's less of an issue. But I am going to show you guys some ways to navigate around that to give you a little bit more output to maybe secure that kill. Let's show you what we're using first, and then we'll talk about what ways that you can improve this composition. So Lydia's importance in this particular team is making sure she lands those debuffs, right? While also providing buffs for our team. So having high accuracy within a certain amount of speed. Now, this is key here. I do have some bonuses in Spider's Den to allow me to go to a significant speed ratio to a point where I'm ahead of the boss. So should this boss goes around like 245 speed. A little bit more than that on top of the 245 is what enabled my Lydia to not only go first, but to provide the A2, which gives increased speed, which will be beneficial to some of our other teammates later down the road. And I'll show you that later on. Lydia followed up afterwards is also above 245, so at 252. She's definitely going to get her turn. She provides the A2, which gives us the buffs for not only survival, but the debuffs to actually do some extra damage. I'm going to just go back into rotation in terms of order. Now, Royal Guard does go next, but he is not over 245, so how is he able to go ahead? Well, not only is he pretty close with the area bonuses, and this actually does play a bit of an impact. Having that extra 15% or that 8% ignore defense does help towards extra damage towards the boss. But the speed in particular, even though I'm not 245, with the increased speed from Lydia, that gives me enough margin of error that as we get in the ticks between phases of turns, that he passes the queen and gets his turn before her. So I neglected a little bit of the speed points. I'm pretty close, but I'm not actually fully there to a point where I'm able to get ahead of the queen using the buffs in mind that we have to our advantage, which ultimately led to me building maybe a couple more stats in terms of like crit damage or whatever to get a little bit more output. Now, I've been deliberating on, and I've been farming towards getting better set bonuses in terms of like Savage gear or maybe even Lethal gear as we progress that along through Dark Fae, to maybe change this build out to allow me to get a little bit more of an output that way. But the main focus was trying to get a decent amount of stats within an acceptable speed range. So I ultimately ended up going out with pretty much broken sets outside of a speed set bonus that I have right here. Everything else is in a broken set, so we're looking to replace that and improve that as we go along. He is in Crushing Rend. We did talk about like the differences in like what would be better or not amongst my community, and I'm actually looking to maybe consider changing some out, but ignoring percentage of the boss's defense to get extra damage off is never a bad thing. So I did go down that route. It's been working for me pretty well, but I'm open to suggestions. If you guys think there's something better, let me know. I'm all ears. I'm all ears. Followed after that, though, we do have our Heartseeker nuker herself, Cold Heart. Of course, that's the main thing we want from her, is that enemy HP A3, but she is in Stone Skin, like I said. The main purpose of this is just to make sure she lives. We don't want her to take any damage to a point where she dies, and considering she's a rare with low base stats as it is in terms of like defense and survivability, she has a high likelihood of just taking that hit and just straight up falling over. So Stone Skin was my way of just making sure she lives. Like I said, you could do Shield Set, which would help out Seer a little bit more in terms of damage on a Lydia or someone else just to make sure they live. But I went with Stone Skin as this one way if you're just looking directly at this champion. How can I make sure she lives? And Stone Skin was my answer. That's pretty much the main focus of it. The reason why she's at the speed that she is and she goes after the boss is that whenever it comes to our turn, you get those extra 6 again at base start, and then another 2 on top of that when Cold Heart gets her turn, which means that there's more spiralings on the board when Seer gets her turn. So that was the whole point about her going just before Seer, and we have Seer round out the fight afterwards. But that's pretty much how the turn order goes and how we wanted them to position. With Seer, on the other hand, though, I've been working a lot towards her, and I've been doing a lot of farming in Savage to a point where I've gotten a set that works for the amount of output I was looking for. So we got her around the 250 range percent for crit damage, and then with area bonuses we got 274. So around that much was ideal. I mean, even without any debuffs on the ways, with 4 buffs in hand across the board for your team. So 4 times 5 is 20 buffs on the board for you to snatch. At this type of crit damage, it was one-shotting the spiraling. So keep that in mind in terms of your normal performance. There's calculators out there that you can probably do some research on in terms of like how much you're going to need based off of the opponent's defense and whatnot. But this is where I got towards in terms of the range of it. That pretty much allowed me to do it in tandem with Crushing Rend. It is at level 2. I'm looking to slowly get more and more awakening level so we can get even more amplification out of that blessing, but that's what I landed with her. I will note that I didn't go down for something like Helm Smasher to ignore additional. I wanted to scale up the crit damage as much as possible, so getting to that 270,000 wouldn't be possible, or 270%, excuse me, wouldn't have been possible without, you know, addressing the fact that I went through 2 different types of crit damage masteries. So that's how I did it. That's how I was able to work it. There's various different ways. I'm looking to build up some gear to make some more efficiency in other areas without compromising too much, like my Theodore. I would like to be able to maintain a solo build with him. So we've been working towards developing regen gear, which will also allow him to be viable in a composition that would do like HP burn, for example, with the recently acquired Artec. I know there's some builds out there or some mechanical ideas out there that would allow us to do it that way. But like I said, this is all just a proof of concept, and showing you guys one of many different ways of using champions to get what you're looking for. And to be honest with you, we've been going down this hype train of using Cold Heart and Royal Guard in the same team, and well, why not continue the train going there. I hope you guys are farming this event very, very effectively. I do want to thank everybody for watching the videos lately too as well. if you haven't already, what are you doing? Like, go ahead and like, subscribe, and let us know what you think about how we've been doing so far. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of positive experiences. People have been commenting, asking about different ways to do things, and I try to give some input there. We have a Discord. Join the Discord. It's in my description. We're also live on Twitch, if you guys haven't already noticed. Join us on twitch.tv/SoulSaint. We're normally live at least Tuesday through Fridays. I've been spending Mondays more so for recording videos like this one. But it's definitely a great way to show your support and just be active and ever present in anything we got going on. But with that being said, we've been projecting. I mean, it was not even like a week or two ago that I was at 250 subscribers, and I feel like my YouTube channel has been somewhat dormant, but now it's been super active. The Dark Fate video has been getting like a lot of views, and you know, I've been seeing a lot of subscribers. I've been seeing a lot of support. So I want to take this moment just to thank everybody for all the love and support they've been giving us, and we're getting slowly and surely closer towards that big 1,000 subscriber mark. So thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to subscribe again, like I said. Join us in being a part of the community. And as always, guys, always remember, stay ascended.